Hello world! Today we get to start talking about glass. I am so excited about this because glass is something I have always been very passionate about. I'm not even sure why, that's just the way it is. It started back when I was digging bottles as a kid, and once I got into eBay it really went full throttle. I started buying books and studying online like a maniac, and this channel will be covering all manner of collectibles and how I sell them on eBay, but if you like glassware, you should probably hit subscribe at least twice because I am a total glass geek and we will be talking about all different kinds of glassware. And I do mean all different kinds. Art glass, American and European, early American antique glassware, Victorian era pressed glass, that's my current favorite, Depression glass, utility glass, Vaseline glass, carnival glass, utility kitchen glass, bottles and containers that you put things in, elegant glass, mid-century glass, and yeah, even some contemporary stuff. I like it all and I buy and sell it all. Today we will be discussing these items shown here. We'll talk a bit more about each of these here in just a minute, but just to let you know what we're looking at, these are some items I picked up at the thrift store this week. Watch for the green arrows. These are Tiffin water goblets in the Cherokee Rose etch, and there are two different stems there. A basket by Northwood in the number 21 pattern. The green bottle in the back is a Jim Beam 1964 decanter. The bowl on the right is by Imperial glass, and that is called Twins. Alright, so let's take a look at what we sold this week. These first two items you might remember from last week's video when I pointed out that the items with the most watchers are the items that sell the most quickly. Well, these were right up there at the top of that list, and indeed they did sell. The first piece that sold was this Empoli straw jar here. That was a beautiful blue piece with milk glass on the inside. Empoli glass is art glass made in the Empoli region of Italy in the mid-century period. They made a ton of different designs. They're almost always thin blown like this with poofy little lids. Just a beautiful piece. I'm not surprised at all that that one sold so quickly. The second item that sold was this KitchenAid mixing bowl. Parts and pieces for mixers and other household appliances have been a huge part of my business over the last 20 years. I have sold so many mixer beaters I don't even know. I always find them dirt cheap and they sell for good money very quickly. I love mixer beaters and mixer parts, especially KitchenAid and Sunbeam. Those are my two favorite companies. Those parts always fly out the door. Here are some other items that sold. An 1875 one Pfennig coin from Germany. That came out of a junk box I bought a long time ago. I've just been slowly selling pieces out of it. A Commodore adding machine. Old adding machines are very popular. The only problem with them that you have to be careful with is that they can be very heavy and therefore expensive to ship. This one went to California. I made a few bucks on it. If it had gone to Florida, that would have been almost all shipping. And then these two goblets, these are both 1870s water goblets. The same buyer purchased both of those, so I was able to combine shipping on that and made a few extra dollars that I wouldn't have if they hadn't combined. Okay, that's what I've sold so far this week. Let's see what I've been listing. The first thing I'd like to talk about is this big basket here by Northwood. Northwood is known for colorful, fancy patterns, and this one is a little more plain than a lot of them. This pattern was just called number 12 by Northwood. Collectors call it Northwood Nearcut or Stretched Diamond and Hobstar. Production began about 1902. Now normally I would avoid a huge piece like this because it's very heavy and very large and it's going to cost a lot to ship. The thing is, number one, this is a piece of Northwood. Northwood was a very high-end factory. They made really great stuff, and I know it's Northwood right off the bat, not because of the pattern, but because it's marked, as you can see here. The N with the circle around it and the underline. There are some similar looking phony marks, but we're not going to go into that right now. We'll do that later sometime. This is an original Northwood mark. The second reason I bought this piece is because it was half off. I only paid $2.98 for this. I listed it right after I posted my last video, and since I didn't know quite what it was worth, there weren't any examples to compare it with, I listed it auction format, and it got a bid almost right away for $68.75, so that's not bad. We'll see if it goes up any before it closes. I'd also like to show you the difference between the picture that I used in the auction, here's a close-up here, compared to how it looks when I first take the picture before I edit it. People say to me, oh, you take such great pictures, and really what they don't know is, no, I don't. I just am a good editor. Makes all the difference. Here is the auction listing. Here it is before I started editing. You can see there's all kinds of fuzz on the backdrop. I edit that out with my virtual vacuum cleaner. Then I adjust the lighting, the color a little bit so that it looks normal and doesn't have weird reflections, etc., etc. And voila. The next thing I'd like to tell you about is this groovy green bottle. Jim Beam did a lot of figural decanters in the 60s and 70s especially, and this particular one was produced in 1964. In 1965, the television show I Dream of Jeannie came out, and they used this exact bottle. Well, not mine, but the same Beam bottle painted up to look different, as you can see here. This particular Beam bottle is my favorite, not because it looks so cool, but because I've found them over the years many times for $1, $2, $5, and they always sell for at least $50 unless something's really wrong with it. This one's got some stuff wrong with it. I might not get $50, but it will sell, and it will sell probably pretty soon. Someone recently sold just a stopper for $40, and these have held their value really well. I did used to get a little bit more for them, but a good condition one will still bring $50 to $100 all day long, and that's why it's one of my favorites. Also, as a side note, most of the Beam bottles have a date code on the bottom. It's 2 digits. It'll usually be on the right. Like you see here, the 64 stands for 1964. The year that this bottle came out. Next up would be this serving bowl by Imperial Glass. I learned this pattern as twins, but Imperial didn't give this pattern an official name. It just called it pattern number 411. So I call it information. I don't think anybody else calls this pattern information, but I do because it's pattern 411. If you are a collector, you might call it twins, or you might call it horseshoe curve. It was produced in 1909, and when you find this in the carnival colors, it is far more popular. If you don't know what carnival glass colors are, stay tuned and we will talk about that in a future episode. I probably wouldn't have normally picked this piece up. I've already got lots of pattern glass to sell, and this isn't a super popular pattern, but this bowl was in perfect condition and it was $1.98. The last thing we have to discuss today are these goblets by Tiffin Glass Company. The pattern is Cherokee Rose. It was produced for quite a while, from 1941 to 1966, and has a pretty good collector base. We could do a whole show on the different types of stemware and the different types of decoration, whether it's engravings or etchings or the different types of engravings and etchings, because there are many. But that is for another episode. Yet another reason to subscribe. For now, I'll just give you a good look at this pattern so that maybe you'll recognize it when you see it in the field and know that it's a good one. Okay, that's all we have to talk about today. Remember to take care of each other, and I'll see you next time.